So we talked about yesterday 4 groups of people. Group 1, part of a fundamentalist religion. We got it, you don't. Group 2, you've absorbed the critiques of religion offered by modernity and postmodernity. You've never thought about them, you don't know what they are, but you've absorbed them because they're part of the zeitgeist, they're part of the very fabric of the culture. And so you're living your life without any spiritual practice of any substantive kind, without any affiliation with religion. You know, goodness, decency, kindness, getting ahead, success, reason are the general guideposts of your life. Group 2. Group 3, you actually are living deeply in spirituality. You're engaged by spirituality. You're concerned with ultimate issues in a spiritual context. And you're trying to put together something that works. You're puzzling together, piecing together a kind of world spirituality, even though you may have never called it that, right? When I say world spirituality, you may have never heard the term. It's incoherent, it's inarticulate, but that's actually what you're doing. That's the 3rd group. And the 4th group is dual citizen. You're actually still practicing your either chosen or your birth tradition at some genuine level of practice, and that no longer holds you. You're no longer in ethnocentric consciousness. You're in a more world-centric consciousness, or you're a citizen of the globe, of the planet, and you actually view yourself as practicing a kind of world spirituality, and you draw from many places, not only your native tradition, even if, again, you haven't labeled that world spirituality. Those are the 4 groups we're talking about. Now, here's the wild thing. Sitting in the room as I'm filming now, we realized in our break that, of course, 3 of the 4 show up in the room. Andy, right, who is our chief operations officer, right, who's running the camera, right? Andy fits into very clearly group 2, right? Andy doesn't need or doesn't feel he needs at this point in his life spirituality, right, or religion. He's guiding his life by goodness, decency, general ethics. He's got a great, partner running a fantastic Pilates studio, super talented, good-looking guy, right, Andy? Good-looking guy. He's saying yes, okay, right? And he's number 2. He's classically number 2. Now, Andy has never in his life thought about, let me read the critiques of religion of, that exist in modernity and postmodernity. Let me examine them, and based on that, I'm going to reject religion. Never thought of it, never read those books. He actually just internalized, right, as he was born into that reality, those critiques, and therefore for him, right, the necessity of a spirituality or a religion just wasn't a live option, right? So that's a perfect example of someone who's internalized those critiques unconsciously and is living in this 2nd group, which is world citizen without spirit. At the same time, world spirituality may speak to Andy because he's interested in something. He's kind of repelled by the thought of someone bringing him to a particular religion. He's not really into kind of New Age spirituality. It looks a little flaky to him. But if someone would articulate for him a cogent vision of the core shared principles of all the great spiritual traditions in a way that's actually freeing, that brings to freedom and fullness and enriches his life, well, he'd be interested in exploring that. But unless someone brings it to him, he's going to live his life. So Andy is a potential client, right, representing hundreds of millions of people of world spirituality. Sitting with us at the same time in the studio is one of our leading board members and initiating visionaries of the world spirituality movement, Mary. And Mary grew up as the wife of a fundamentalist preacher, right? She was very, very active in the church world as a leader in the church world for many, many years, right, within the fundamentalist Christian community. And at some point, she developed her own profound critiques of Christianity as it was presented to her and moved beyond the Christian context. She naturally moved into other spiritual contexts. And although she never thought about it in terms of world spirituality, what she's naturally done for the last decade of her life is actually read extensively, attended many seminars, and has begun to try and piece together for herself a practice of world spirituality. And the reason this world spirituality conversation is exciting and compelling for her, and she's taking a leading role in it, is because it's articulating and naming for her what she's been naturally doing for the last decade of her life. So Mary fits into the 4th group, which are people who are, in an incoherent or inarticulate way, naturally trying to put together a world spirituality as the guiding force in their lives. That's 2nd person in the room. I'm the 3rd person in the room. Now, I, as the 3rd person in the room, I am a dual citizen. I'm a dual citizen, meaning I practice my native tradition, which is the Hebrew tradition. So I practice classical Hebrew wisdom practices. I lay phylacteries. They're called tefillin in the morning. I keep Sabbath. I eat kosher food. These are my personal practices. But my center of gravity is no longer ethnocentric, it's world-centric. So while I practice classical Hebrew practices and even feel obligated by them, I don't have any sense that they're per se superior. They're my lineage, reception, and tradition. They're my transmission. I teach out of them. And at the same time, right, I am drawing from many other great systems of spirit and knowing and piecing together a world spirituality. So I'm a dual citizen, a citizen both of my native tradition and of the broader tradition. At the same time, outside, I just talked to a wonderful, wonderful young man, right, a Latino man, right, living here in Marin, Jose. And Jose goes to his local Catholic church. And in my conversation with Jose, Jose invited me to participate with him in church because he explained to me that if I would actually come to church and actually would be able to see and accept Jesus, that would allow me redemption. So Jose outside, right, is a classical fundamentalist, beautiful man, has gorgeous values in many, many ways, is living in his tradition, in his Catholic tradition, and ultimately, although he's civil and beautiful and lovely and respectful to everyone, but ultimately views his tradition as being, right, the essential exclusive truth, and therefore experiences himself as doing me a great favor if he could bring me to that tradition and free me from my world spirituality or Jewish ways. So actually, within a radius of 15 feet, as we're filming, we found, right, to our delight, that all four, right, of these great archetypes are actually present right here and right now in the room. Now, what I want you to do is, this week, look around at the people in your life and see where they fit. Number one, fundamentalist. Number two, secularist, right, beyond the religions. We'll call it the Andy group, okay? The Jose group is the fundamentalist group. Or trying unconsciously to piece together a world spirituality, but beyond the religions, the Mary group. Or the Marc group, dual citizens. So I'll give it to you again. Marc group, dual citizens. Jose group, fundamentalists. Mary group, beyond the religions, world spirituality. The Andy group, beyond the religions, living secular, but open. There you got it. Check it out. See those people living in your life and see those different voices living within you. And as you begin to see it, you open up the door for the next stage of your evolution.